All right, Coyotes fans, welcome into another episode of the Off the Post podcast. This is sort of the year-end episode. Luke Lapinski here with you, alongside Shane Doan and Paul Bissonnette. Here, let's just start off right now. If people can't see what we're doing, Doaner, how would you describe what Biz is wearing?
He is in full Coyote camouflage.
Booster mode.
Yeah. With the bowling shirt on, which is huge, to go with the sunglasses. It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Hey, have we congratulated Doaner on being named to help with where are you, assistant GM of Team Canada?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy went from being retired to having 6 jobs, Luke.
We knew it was going to happen, but we just didn't know how quickly it was going to happen. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, but not on this podcast. So, Doaner, now you're just not even 2 weeks away. How excited are you?
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, it's fun. It's one of those things that I think I'm about 3 or 4 calls away from calling Biz to come play for us. So, if him and I are going to play on the 4th line together, if that's okay, Biz.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, Luke. Me and Doan, only if we get to room together on wherever we go. Where are we going? Latvia?
Yep. Latvia.
Now, speaking of Latvia, was that where we started the season the one year where we had an exhibition game?
Yeah, remember Michael Telquist was their goalie? It was so much fun.
Sandis Ojelins was their captain as well.
Yeah, he's actually Latvian.
I think so we got to dress an extra forward that game, Luke. So we had 4 lines plus 1. I was the plus 1. I think I got 2 shifts during the entire game. All I did was stare up in the crowd the whole night for obvious reasons. And Doaner, you can maybe explain as to what happened back in the day with the king of Latvia.
The czars of Russia. It was the czars of Russia, or whatever, Mother Russia. They decided they wanted to create the most beautiful race in the world, and they moved all of these women, the most beautiful women that they had in Russia, to Riga to try to create this beautiful race. And they're beautiful.
Luke, just from my observation, mission accomplished.
I was going to say, they create that society and then they send Paul Bissonnette over there and sit him on the bench to stare at him for 56 of the 60 minutes of the game. All right, boys. Unfortunately, we're wrapping up the season here. The Coyotes looks like they're just going to miss the playoffs. St. Louis went on a tear there late. So I guess let's kind of go big picture with this team. Most of this group was here last year when they made the playoffs. This year, the experience of playing meaningful games down the stretch, but not quite getting in. So, Doaner, I'll start with you. As far as looking forward with this group, I mean, to me, a guy like Jakob Chychrun, a guy like Michael Bunting, even a guy like Adin Hill really took big strides this year. Is that the main positive to take here going forward?
Yeah, I think what Chick did was absolutely incredible, and he's put himself into the upper echelon of all D-men in the league, and that you need that, and that's huge. What Bunce has done in the last 25 games has been incredible. I'm so happy for him. He'd shown that when he played in the O. He scored 50 goals in the OHL, and that's not easy to do. It's not the Western League, but it's still a really good league. So,
Sandbagger.
And then so we made sure that he was good. Hiller's been amazing. I think there's some things to build off of for sure.
I want to hop in there and ask you, Doaner. So you talked about Bunting and the way he was able to contribute in junior. Now, I would say with the time he spent in the American League, he's never really had that jump in offense similar to what Garland had, because Garland came from junior putting up crazy points. I think he led the Quebec League a couple of years in a row. Obviously struggled early on in the AHL, but you've seen Bunting's been able to produce offense at a higher level. I feel sometimes if guys play the right way, it's almost easier when they come up to the NHL in order to produce, because they just seem to be obviously playing with better players, but being in the spot that they're supposed to be. And usually that correlates to them putting the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah, I know. I think so 100% that it's sometimes tough to generate offense down in the AHL just because it's a little more scrambling. It's a little bit more guys. Everyone's trying to show their own skill. And if you're someone like Bunce who relies on kind of going to the net and cleaning up garbage, it seems that if you stick to the fundamentals, you can have a little bit more success. And it's been impressive. The run he's been on is impressive. I'm not saying it's going to stay that way. I think I read he's like 36 all time in goals per game right now, like ahead of like Stevie Yzerman and like Joe Sakic and all those guys. Like, because I mean, it's only 25 games or 30 games. It's a little tough, but it's pretty impressive.
So you're saying it's too small of a sample size to get excited and maybe give him an 8x8 or something?
Maybe, but he's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he was incredible in the minors this year to begin the year. Like, he was player of the week the first 2 weeks. He was hands down their best and emotional leader. He's shown huge character. I love the guy, and I'm so happy for him because I was happy that he got the chance.
And Luke, just before I throw it back over to you, like, it's obviously disappointing not making playoffs, but the few bright spots, Hiller has established himself as a guy who's easily going to be a competent backup probably to start next year, depending on what happens with this expansion or what do you call it? The expansion draft?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who knows, right? But that's all. And then having Bunting going into next season, knowing that there's a possibility that he can continue this. And even if the offensive production isn't where it's at now, the fact that you have a competent player that you can rely on every night to maybe if he doesn't, he's still getting it done in all the other areas and not being an anchor is a major plus side among a few other things, like you mentioned, Chychrun and of course, Garland and Keller having a very consistent
for
season.
sure.
So some bright spots.
You look at what Phil did. I mean, Phil's got, I think as he's in the top 3 in goals in the third period this year. The guy scores goals, and he's been, you couldn't ask for much more out of him for what he's done for us this year. And so there's lots of things that are exciting, and it's always disappointing when you're in this situation. But the thing that gets me most excited about Hiller is he's got better every single year. Like, it's not like he's plateaued and this is where he's at. He might be the classic Darcy Kemper kind of, takes him a little while to get to the NHL, get his feet under him, get everything. Kemp's came in really, really highly touted and then had probably 6 or 7 years where he kind of was finding his game. And then at 28, 29 became a premier, one of the top goalies in the league. And I think Hiller has that chance.
Luke, to hop in for the 20th time before I send it back to you here, going back to Kemper, I think a lot of people forget before he went on that crazy run a few years back, Schwab had to work with him a little bit because talk was saying he was too busy in his net and he just wasn't performing up to standards. And I think that he spent a good week to 10 days where he hit the reset button, and that's when he came back and gone on this run. So for goalies, like Doaner mentioned, it just sometimes it takes a little bit longer time because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to be on the ice for the full 60 minutes and you're the last line of defense. And that is a mental game just as much as a physical game. Yeah.
And when you're looking at these guys in terms of next year, I mean, I don't want the whole podcast to be about Michael Bunting, but just in terms of the way he plays, like you guys have brought this up on this podcast before, he's not just going to the net to stick in the NHL. This is the way he has played his whole career. So something like that, yeah, he's not going to score at a 45 goals per 82 game pace next year. Or if he does, then awesome. But just the way he plays, that's something you can count on now going forward, can't you?
You can count on the way he plays for sure. He's not going to change that. And that's it. Like what Biz was saying is that's exciting because it's somebody that, hey, you can put him in and he can play in multiple spots in your lineup. He can be a guy that's on the net front on your power play. He can be on your third line because he's going to have everyone wanting to kill him because he's going to go to the net and slip and fall and land on the goalie and poke a puck in as he's laying on the ice or deflect the puck in or be there at the right time. And he's going to be talking to their bench. He provides energy and he's a guy you want on your team, does a little bit of sandpaper. So you're excited about what he can do.
I'm going to ask Biz this one because I remember at times seeing Paul Bissonnette play defense. So when we're talking about Jakob Chychrun and his ability to get these shots through consistently, like I don't expect him to score at this pace his whole career, but it does feel like every game there's going to be 3 or 4 chances where he's putting the puck either on net or it's going to be a goal or there's going to be a rebound or it's going to hit somebody. He's so good with that release. He's so quick with it and he gets it through. Biz, I mean, I'll consider you a defensive expert at this point. How do you get that shot through so consistently for Jakob Chychrun?
Well, I tell you what, I was a great D-man, and then they took away the can opener. Doaner may have remembered that in the 90s and early 2000s, and then I was hooped. So once they took that away, my credibility got flushed down the toilet. But aside from that, Doaner, you were talking about it yesterday, and Chick has always had a very hard shot, but from what I've heard, he got a new stick in the offseason, and he's got the perfect kick point to where he's far more accurate. Like going back a couple of years ago, you'd say, oh, he's got this amazing chance in slot, boom, 5 feet over the net. He has dialed it in, and the best part about it is his shot, aka wrist shot / snapshot, is so good that he doesn't need the big windup. He'll accept a pass, his head will be up, if so in some cases it's like it's already up, so he can scan for where the mark is, and he just a quick flick of the wrist and he's found it, and he could beat goalies clean from a fairly good distance without screens in front of the net. So it's actually remarkable. And I think that, just given how good his offense has been, it may overshadow how good he is defensively. Are there still glimpses of like, oh, mistake here, mistake there? Well, yeah, when you're lugging 22 minutes a night, you are going to make mistakes defensively. But the overall package here is, I would, for this season sample size, I would say we have a top 20 NHL defenseman on our team. And that's a guy we got locked in for a very, very good value moving forward here too, Doaner.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, to give credit for that contract, that's impressive. Yeah, his shot is so good, and he gets it away, like you said, through and on net now, where in the past he was missing. And the shot he scored on Quick the other night, where he beat him on the low blocker side, Quick was set, and that's there. When a goalie's set, you're talking like millimeters of being able to beat him. Like you miss by a couple centimeters and Quick's making that save. He put that puck in an absolute perfect shot off the post, short side, blocker side. I was so impressed with that shot particularly. And you only make that shot if your head's up. And you know what? He's been a guy that's shown he can beat goalies, like Biz said, from a long range, which is so hard to find. I remember Oliver went back-to-back 20-goal seasons there a couple of years ago, and I don't know if there's been many D-men other than, Burnsy maybe, and a couple other guys that have been in that 20-goal kind of plateau in the last few seasons. And Chick would be there if they could play another, 10, 15 games.
If they made sticks like that when I played, Luke, I would have had 40.
I didn't want to say anything, but we were all thinking it.
In his career.
They had me using wood twigs here. Stan and Doaner. They wouldn't, because all the budget had to go to Doaner breaking twigs.
Yeah. I think you would have got 40 in your career, Biz, if you would have had sticks.
Total. I think half of my goals weren't even scored with my stick. Doaner, now that we're talking about sticks, who were the most obnoxious guys you saw in your career who would work on sticks and complain about sticks? Because I play with some guys here where it seemed like every week they were getting 2 free samples from whatever stick company it was to try to feel if that was what was going wrong.
Oh, I didn't ever touch my sticks for the last probably 10 years of my career. And Verby and Verbata and Peter Mueller would grab my sticks and then reshape them and do stuff. Like now no one reshapes your sticks. Like you just get if you don't like your curve, you get a new one. But then we used to like have those tools where you'd bend them. And Verby and Peter Mueller would spend like hours on their stick. And then there was a couple D-men that I was like, hey, really? You don't need to be worrying about
the shovel on the way out to the ice.
Exactly. And that was the ones that always cracked me up when you'd see a guy that'd been working on a stick for like a week. And you're like, you have scored a goal in the last year. Like you have 1 goal in the last year. I don't think it's going to worry about whether or not your sticks, and like to knock a puck down and to clear it off the glass isn't that hard. Just keep doing that.
Luke, I just used to try to change my tape color, but that didn't work either.
Hey, while we're talking about this, how about Stan Wilson, 30 years? Doaner, I know you gave the speech on the scoreboard the other night. I mean, you guys, look, we all know Stan. You guys obviously know him a lot better, though, than I do. I actually played hockey with his kid Denver for a while, and that was an experience because he would just start fights from the goal, and then we'd all have to clean the fights up. He would just keep talking to the other team. But Stan's the exact opposite. I mean, as great of an honor as that is the other night, he hates that stuff, doesn't he? He hates having the spotlight on him.
Oh, he does. I'm sitting in his desk right now, actually. So, yeah, he hates that, hates it. That was probably the best part about doing it, was that he hated it. And the fact that, you know what, he's an example of what people should be like. I really think that. And he's a reason that I enjoy being around him so much is everyone else. He's always putting everyone else first, and yet very confident and comfortable in who he is, and not out of you know, let people walk all over him, but he always makes sure that he takes care of everyone around him. And he would have hated the moment that he was on the TV. He would have hated the moment that we were talking about. He would hate the moment that we're talking about him right now. If he hears about this, he's not going to like it. So, but hey, that's what
he hates the attention. That's why I'm going to deflect. He must have given it all to his kid, that gene, because sometimes after wins, when he finally left the LA Kings organization after stabbing us in the back, no offense, Denver, after wins sometimes, and Stan didn't like rap music, but we would put the rap music on and Wilson would come in and he would do like little booty dances like he was a dancer. We'll leave it at that. And it would get the boys fired up, Luke. It was so good for team morale. So thank you for your offspring, Stan, and all your hard work throughout the years. You're an absolute legend. And I'm hoping you're here for 35, because we'll probably end up getting you your own little barn or something, because we got him the boots, we got him the buckle, we got him the trip to what do you get a trip to? The PBR bull riding competition or what?
No. The Bob Feist team roping.
Oh, team roping. Oh, okay, my bad.
We got him the horse. He forgot the horse.
Actually, Doaner, at one point when I was playing here, ended up buying a ranch, and him and Stan would go there quite frequently. You guys had somebody on staff who would help run it when you guys weren't there,
Yeah.
but I would imagine you guys had some great talks and nights there.
Yeah, no, yeah. We have our horses together over at another guy, Sean Grant. We got our horses at his place now, and we were open to do stuff together still. But yeah, we got him a horse, we got him boots, we got him the Belco, we got him the saddle. Now we got him the horse. We need a trailer and a truck, and then he's set.
Okay, let me ask you one quick question for everybody listening. So what is it about horses that like get you guys fired up? And I'm not trying to stir the pot here. Like, obviously you guys have a very big emotional connection to not only animals, but horses specifically.
Yeah, I don't know. They're amazing, and they're so there's when you're working with them, it's like nothing else really matters. Like that's probably the best part of it. It's not like when you're working with a horse, like if you're breaking a horse, or you're not but training a horse, or like whether it's team roping, whether it's just riding, you're not checking your phone, you're not doing anything else. It's completely in the moment. And if you're not, then it's not worth doing. So when you do go out to the barn, it usually is that hour and a half of just not thinking about anything other than, you know, riding a horse down the arena, focusing on what you're doing and forgetting about everything else. And then they're amazing. They're intense. They're powerful. They're beautiful. They're all the things that are kind of the romantic side of it too. It's romantic with Stan, but romantic like with the idea that.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah, thanks.
This is the thing. Doaner knows Biz too well, so if Doan doesn't say it and clear it up, Biz will jump in, obviously. The playoffs here, I mean, as a player, if there's a year you miss the playoffs, are you still watching it? I know a lot of these guys are, but I would imagine there's some guys that are like, all right, look, it's the off season. I can't watch it on TV. There's guys that approach this both ways, right?
Yeah. I love the game. I'll watch it no matter what. So I hate it. You don't really watch it though for like a team. You more watch your buddies. Like we'll watch like Jelly in Florida. You know, you'll be watching, you know, the guys that you know that you're friends with, Smitty up in Edmonton, and guys that you know, wherever guys are at that you're friends with, that you'll watch them. Richie in Nashville, and so.
I always had a hard time, especially when I was playing, watch other teams hoist the cup. Like it was almost like torture. Like I talked to some guys who will watch it right to the final buzzer and they'll close it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Oh man, I remember exactly where I was the year where LA won it after they knocked us out, Luke. That was I think I cried a little bit. I was so emotional about it, and it sucked, and just the way it all ended and how special our group was. Now going back to your question, like I don't know what these guys who are with the Coyotes will do after the season. I know some of them are big time hockey lovers. Like I know Kells just loves it. But I don't think what's being talked about enough is like maybe the grueling experience this was for these guys in this season. Even on off days, like having to drive to go get tested constantly and just like really never being able to separate themselves from the job. And even when you're in the midst of a season, I don't think that that's healthy. You need some separation and to clear your mind. So whatever these guys need in order to go get fresh and reset their minds and come back with a great mindset for next year. I just hope that they do that, because I know this year was very difficult on them, and it's it was a tough year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Huge. That's one of the reasons why when like we joke and laugh about the horses, what made it so nice during the year. The guys haven't been able to do any of that stuff because they had to stay, cognizant of the whole bubble and everything else. They have to get tested every single day, even on days off, like Biz said. It's been a grind for them, and huge kudos to them for being willing to do this for this long. And I know they'd love to keep going for another month and a half doing the Cup finals, but right now if they're out, then enjoy the time and take a breather.
Luke, the best athlete to ever live, or one of them, Michael Jordan, like he would have to go play golf on game days sometimes just to get his mind away from it. That's just the way some people are. They need to be able to separate themselves in order to be the best at their job. So for the guys who have that type of personality who went through this season, I would imagine it was probably one of the more difficult ones for sure.
No, that's a great point. I've always thought that like one of the best skills the top athletes have is that ability. If they only have 2 days to reset in the middle of the season, they're able to do it, whereas some other guys maybe aren't able to do it. But I guess along those lines, when we get to next season, assuming things are more back to normal, and I would think that they are next season, I mean, how different is the league going to look from next year to what we saw this year, just because of stuff like that, and because you're not playing the same team every night, and because you're playing 82 games instead of 56 games? Like, we're going to have an adjustment period again back to normalcy next year, aren't we?
Oh, for sure. Because this isn't normal. This wasn't normal, what we went through. And hey, I don't even know what normal is going to be. Like, that's the part that's crazy. What is normal going forward? But this isn't it. This isn't going to be, it's not going to be like this. And those guys are going to have to deal with everything that came with this whole year, and the whole last 18 months has not been easy. So hopefully when September rolls around, we're in a way better spot.
And more importantly, getting fans back in the building. Yow!
All right, that's a good spot to wrap it up right there, with Biz leaning in, wearing whatever.
Love you guys. Love you, fans. Thanks for listening. I know you hardcores are listening.
Yes,
absolutely. On behalf of Paul Bissonnette, on behalf of Shane Doan, thanks to everybody who tuned in all season, and we will talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot, guys.